It's Jason. I'm back. Hopefully you enjoyed your Tuesday and had a good day. And what if I told you that the most remote island in the world is Norwegian? And you look at a global map and you kind of look around and you're like, I don't see really any super isolated islands off the Norwegian coast. And I already talked about Svalbard earlier, the Arctic archipelago chain, which is a good ways north of the Norwegian mainland. But that's not what I'm talking about here. You know, that one's about maybe a few hundred miles north of the Norwegian mainland or the North Cape of Norway. No, the remote island I'm talking about is actually in the southern hemisphere. This is the story of Bouvet Island, Bouvet. It's got a French-sounding name, but it's actually the Norwegians who own it. Now, how isolated is this place? It's about 1,500 miles east of the South Sandwich Islands, which are a British dependency. It's about the closest landmass is about 1,100 miles south, and that is Antarctica. And about 1,500 miles to the northeast is Cape Town, South Africa. To nobody's surprise, there are no residents here. And visitors are actually extraordinarily rare. Now, say you had an ocean-going vessel and you wanted to go visit. First of all, the Norwegian government has made it off limits. You cannot and are not allowed to land there. With that said, there's very rarely would very uncommonly be anybody there to stop you. So if you have the equipment, by all means, go for it, I would say. But good luck finding a place to land. There's only one small peninsula of rocks jutting into the ocean, into the southern Atlantic Ocean from the island. That constitutes a landing, but passes as a landing spot. This island is a volcanic island. It has a volcano underneath and is covered by a tremendous ice cap of its own, Greenland style. Bouvet is the last place in the world that you would ever want to be stranded, because it is over 1,000 miles to the nearest piece of land of any kind. When the International Space Station passes over Bouvet, those astronauts are the closest people to the island at that time. And it's not even close because the space station orbits at about 400 miles above the Earth's surface. Now, I work for a very large financial institution, and here's a funny fact about Bouvet. Bouvet actually has an international wire code, which I believe would come from it being a dependency of Norway. But Bouvet does have an international wire code. There are obviously no financial institutions on the island to receive them. There's not a bank to be found on Bouvet. There's not a residence to be found on Bouvet. There's an unmanned weather station on Bouvet. That's the closest thing that you'll find to any functioning service on the island. There's no plant life on the island. There is no real shelter on the island, save for what little is available in the form of that unmanned weather station close to that rocky landing point. With the ice cap, it does, and the volcano underneath it, it does stick about 3,500 feet above the ocean. So, if you are traveling to the South Atlantic, once you get close enough to it, it is pretty visible. However, that's not always the case, because this is also a very foggy area of the world. So, short story, this is the most isolated piece of land on the planet. And if you do get stuck there, how Norwegian ships do visit for scientific purposes, but that only happens about once every 3 years. You're not going to have any food sources to be able to utilize. You're not going to have any, you will not have any, a bit, even with fish around the island. If you can't get out there, if you don't have any equipment with which to fish, you're not going to have any food and you'll starve pretty quickly. So, obviously, while I would say that your chances of being caught in a landing are slim, I would hardly recommend a trip. So, that is the quick little story of Bouvet Island. And as I said, happy Tuesday. Hopefully you had a good day. And I will see you all tomorrow on Wednesday for another geographical oddity. Peace out, homies.